Hey y'all, it's Naoki here, back with another Now story time. Today I'll be talking about a demonic kidnapper, also known as HACHISHAKU Sama. In English, it's also called 8 feet tall kidnapper. Fun fact, it's used to call HACHISHAKU Sama. I can't pronounce it, but there is like so many S in the middle. I'm just gonna put it on the screen. Yeah, it used to be called this, and now it's called this. Yeah, this legend came to light in 2008. Okay, back to the urban legend. So, what is this urban legend about? This is a type of Japanese yokai, aka spirit, that is extremely tall. Legend says it is 210 cm tall. How much is that? 2.1 meter tall. Yeah. Who is said to repeat the word po in a deep masculine voice while preying on children within the age of 9 to 11 years old. So this is the sound that HACHISHAKU Sama make. Po, 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 po. As for Miss Popo appearance, she is often seen with dark long black hair, wearing a white hat, voila, and dressed with no shoes. Now that we know how she looked like, she's often to be described to look like a withered hag or an extremely attractive woman. But something that stays consistent is the way she looks. So what stands out? Basically her height and the way she dressed. The 2.1 meter tall, wearing a white long dress with a sun hat. Yeah, she's ready for summer. Do you know? I am only like 168 tall, so I am considered quite short. And I look horrible in a long dress. It just made me look like I'm wearing a pajamas. No. Her methods to catching victims is especially unique because she don't go for adults, but she go for young kids. And the scary part is she would usually stalk them for like weeks and days. Okay. Why do HACHISHAKU Sama only prey on the younger ones? The reason she gave was because the younger one is easier to attract. She didn't say it that way, but basically she was saying that younger kids are dependent on family members and usually they don't have a thinking of their own and they would just randomly follow strangers. So basically making them an easy prey, just like what a kidnapper would do. The method that HACHISHAKU Sama used to lure her prey away is to mimic and to impersonate a close family member so that the kid would trust them and naturally follow them. You know, as a young kid, my parents often tell me, do not follow strangers. But they didn't warn us for, do not follow family members that look 2.1 meter tall. Actually, if I see a person that is 2.1 meter tall, I would probably be amazed and just follow them blindly. So I can't say much. I might be worse than those kids, even though I'm over 20 years old. Damn. I get attracted by weird things so easily. Okay, back to the point. Why do HACHISHAKU Sama prey on young kids? Well, legend says that she prey on younger kids to keep her youth. So it's like the kids is a eternity pill and for longevity. So by eating the kids, she can live longer. I mean, wouldn't it make more sense if you eat an adult and your time period be extended longer? I have no idea what I'm saying. Eating people is bad, but think of this logic. If you eat someone older, like for example, if you eat a 20-year-old, you get 20 years. If you eat a 10-year-old, you get 10 years. So isn't it better to eat a 20-year-old? I don't know what I'm saying, but I'm not a murderer. I swear I'm not a murderer. I'm not cannibalistic also. It's just, think about it. Okay. The most important part is how to get rid of her. Well, legend says that you can get rid of her by using salt and amulets. Salt amulet. Is it real? I don't know. But I found a story online and I'm gonna read it to you. let me share with you a story. A true story that happened in Japan. Lego. My father's family home was just little under 2 hours away by car from where we lived. A small village surrounded by farmland. I often stayed with my grandparents during the summer vacation and winter breaks from school. And they were always happy to play with me. But the last time I visited them was over 10 years ago, when I was still in my 3rd year of high school. It was spring break and I was invited to visit. And since the weather was so good, I rode my bike to their house. After I got there, I was a little cold, so I stretched out for a moment in the warm, sunny spot off the road. Then I heard something strange.
Po, po.
It wasn't a mechanical noise. It sounded strange, but human. I looked about to see where the noise was coming from, and I saw a white head peeking over the hedge. The head moved along a break in the hedge, when I could see that it was being worn by a woman in a white dress. She had to be tall though. The hedge was over 2 meters high. Before I could really think about this much, the woman was gone, simply disappeared. The strange sound was gone too. At that time, I guessed that the person's height was due to the fact that she was wearing some sort of heels. Or it could be a man dressed up as a woman. Oddly, that was all that I thought of. A while later, while having tea with my grandma and grandpa, I mentioned the strange person I had seen and that I thought it was a transvestite. I also mentioned the strange po, 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 po noise. My grandparents panicked. My grandpa suddenly showered me with questions.
When do you see how much taller than the video look at you?
I answered as quickly as he asked. Then he rushed to the phone in the hallway, shutting the sliding door so I couldn't hear the call. The room was suddenly very quiet. Grandma smiled a bit, but it was trembling for some reason. Grandpa came back soon and told me I'll be staying overnight with them. I had to admit that I didn't understand what was the fuss about and asked what was so bad about that strange woman. Grandpa said,
Grandma can tell you.
He then looked at her as he was going to pick someone named Kei-san and then left. In a clearly shaken voice, Grandma said,
It seems that HACHISHAKU Sama has been interested in you, but you shouldn't worry. Grandpa is making arrangements.
Grandma then told me, a little at a time, that HACHISHAKU Sama was not a person. In fact, she was some sort of monster, and she was named HACHISHAKU Sama for her height. So Grandma explained the meaning of her name, HACHISHAKU Sama. Basically, Hachi means 8 and Shaku means foot and Sama means person, so it's 8-foot person. Her appearance could change somewhat, sometimes old, sometimes young, but she will always be abnormally tall and will always have a creepy laugh like this.
Po, 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 po.
Once HACHISHAKU Sama took an interest in a person, they will be hunted to death in just a few days. And the last known victim of HACHISHAKU Sama was 15 years ago. I later learned that HACHISHAKU Sama was supposed to be trapped in a shrine near the village, having been sealed by all 4 statues of Jiro, a protective deity of children, each placed to the north, south, east and west of the structure. The village had some sort of agreement with the neighboring villages, where they are given some advantages to make up for the fact that they had to watch over the monster. For example, they got first priority on water use, since it has been over a dozen years since HACHISHAKU Sama had killed anyone. I have to wonder if the old man in the villages thought it was a good arrangement. At that time, I couldn't quite believe what I was being told. But then Grandpa returned with a very old lady, Kei-san. She handed me a small paper chunk and asked me to hold on to it. Then she and Grandpa went upstairs. While they were upstairs, I tried to excuse myself to use the bathroom, but my grandma wouldn't let me go alone, and she insisted on keeping the door open. This is when I started to really understand how serious my grandparents felt the situation was. I was soon led upstairs to a bedroom. The single window in the room had been covered with newspaper, on which a charm like the one I was holding has been fixated. In each corner was a small pile of morishiro, a scarce salt, and they had also set up a small wood box with a statue of Buddha on it. I was told I had to stay in the room until 7 the next morning, and that I couldn't leave no matter what. They even provided me a bucket to potty in. Grandpa made it clear that neither he or Grandma would talk to me until 7 the next morning. Kei-san told me to keep the charm on me and to pray to Buddha if I ever got scared. I had a bed and a TV in that room. Grandma had left me snacks. I tried to watch some TV, but I couldn't pay attention. I wasn't hungry either, so I just laid on the bed, wrapped in my sheets. And eventually, I fell asleep because the next thing I remember was waking up to a late night show on my TV. My watch said that it was around 1 a.m. and I heard something tapping on the glass of the window. I tried to ignore it, but it was very persistent. I had some tea and some snack, and I turned up the TV so to prevent hearing the sound. Then I heard Grandpa's call from the hall.
Are you alright? It's okay to come out if you're too scared.
I stared at the door automatically, but stopped myself as I remember how insistent Grandpa had been, said that he wouldn't talk to me until 7. Again, I heard him.
It's okay. Come here.
I wanted it to be my grandpa's voice so badly, but somehow it wasn't. I suddenly have goosebumps all over my body, and I noticed the sword at the corner starting to turn black. I dropped in front of the Buddha, clasping the charm with both of my hands, and started to pray. While I was focusing on praying, all that I can hear was the sound of the po-po monster.
Po, po, po.
The tapping on the window started again, louder and louder than before. Then a definite hand slapped on the window, despite the fact that I was on the 2nd floor. I did the only thing I could do. I kept praying to Buddha. It was a long night. I really couldn't remember much, but I could remember praying until I heard the TV on the news. I looked over and it was the morning news. The tapping had stopped, the voices were gone, and the sword at the corner of the room turned black. I gingerly opened the door. Grandma and Kei-san was there, looking worried. All I remembered was Grandma holding me tightly, and she was bawling her eyes out. Downstairs, I found my father waiting. Grandpa came in, and we needed to drive off. Outside, I found that there was a number of men standing around a van. My grandpa's car was in front of the van, while my father's was behind. And I was seated in the middle of the van, with 8 of the men sitting around me, 1 to each side. And there was 3 in the front and 3 at the back. 1 more man took the driver's seat and Kei-san took the passenger side of the front. I was told to keep my eyes closed and my face pointing down. All I could hear was Kei-san saying this.
You are the only one that can see HACHISHAKU Sama. Please don't look at her.
And our journey started slowly at first. I don't think we had traveled 20 kilometers before Kei-san warned us things are gonna get hard. And she started to chant phrases that sounds like Buddhism. And then I heard a laughter again.
Po, po, po.
I clutched the charm to my chest and put my head down, but couldn't resist to have a sneak peek at the window. And that was a mistake, because what I saw was a female dressed in a white dress staring right back at me. It appeared to be stationary right outside the car window, Even though we were driving at an incredible speed, the figure moved as if it was lowering her head towards the window. And I gasped. The man next to me told me to shut my eyes and hold my charms, which I did very tightly because I was very scared. Although no one could see HACHISHAKU SAMA, but they could hear what was happening next. The tapping started on every window of the van. I don't know how long it lasted, but over time it faded. Kei-san had stopped chanting by that time as well, and eventually said that she felt that it was safe enough for us to alight, so the cars pulled over. My father and grandpa thanked all the men who had assisted. As it turned out, all of them was related to me. Grandpa and Kei-san had hoped to confuse HACHISHAKU Sama by surrounding me with many people of the same bloodline. I had to stay overnight while Grandpa was gathering my kinsmen. It was deemed safer to try to escape during the day than night. Kei-san asked me to show her the charm, which I had forgotten I was still holding. When I opened my hand, I saw that the charm turned entirely black. Kei-san commented.
It should be alright by now, but just in case.
As she handed me a new charm to hold on until I reached home. I drove home with my father. During the drive, he told me that one of his friends, when he was young, has been taken by HACHISHAKU Sama. Grandpa and a neighbor delivered my bike back to me later. In talking to my grandpa over the phone, I have confirmed that it was not his voice I heard outside of the room that night, which sent shivers down my spine again. Grandma called to tell me that one of the diesel statues that had been sealed by HACHISHAKU Sama into the shrine looked as if someone has broken it. The statue was broken, lined up by the road leading to our home. Sadly, 2 years ago, my grandpa died. I was not allowed to attend the funeral. I would try to tell myself it was all superstition, but sometimes I still hear that voice. So that's it for the HACHISHAKU Sama urban legend. Now I'm going to talk about the anime that HACHISHAKU Sama was in. Warning, there will be spoilers. So please shut the video if you are not interested in spoilers about the anime Other Side. Are you gone? Voila. So HACHISHAKU Sama was featured in an anime called Other Side as a super tall creature. Basically what they describe in the urban legend is what they adapted to the anime. In the anime, Soraro right eye, is this right? Yeah. So in the anime, Soraro right eye could see HACHISHAKU Sama as a Tori. This was how HACHISHAKU Sama could like manipulate the little kid or the teenager's mind into believing that it was the relative that was approaching them. So basically brainwashing. No. It's not really brainwashing, but it's to create a feeling of nostalgia and to superimpose a close friend or family, thus luring the victim into her deadly embrace. While HACHISHAKU Sama was luring the victim would walk towards the blue light and poof! That's the end. So in the anime, how was HACHISHAKU Sama defeated? Well, in the urban legend, it was defeated by the chants and or the sword thing. So in the anime, HACHISHAKU Sama was defeated by Toriko. How? Well, when she held out a blue light and Soroko was looking through her right eye. So being able to recognize and touch the light in its true form, Sorao was able to fire into the light. Black orbs has suddenly erupted from the bullet hole and vanished without a trace. So basically, black hole, gone. Yeah. HACHISHAKU Sama then shrunk and faded away. What's left was only her white hat and her dress, which was picked up by Toriko. Okay, so that's it for Now Story Time this week. Come back for another Now Story Time next week or 2 weeks later because my uploads is very inconsistent. Bye! po, 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 po. Okay, back to the point. I bite on my tongue.